I love having the goal setting conversation October, November, especially when you're going to have that conversation with yourself from the mindset of, I'm not going to just coast into the year changes, but how do I full sprint ahead, whatever that looks like, be very clear on how I want to finish where I currently am. Let me evaluate where I've come from. How do I want to finish where I currently am? And then what's the plan for next year? Hey friends, I'm Rosemary Lewis, your homegirl, and I'm so excited that you are here. I do not care what it looks like on Instagram or HGTV. This whole being a realtor thing is not for the faint at heart. In 2017, I quit my job as a teacher to follow my real estate dreams and quickly found myself overwhelmed and struggling. Fast forward to today, not only have I been recognized as one of the leaders in our industry, I have actually grown a business that I absolutely love. I don't care if you're a brand new agent trying to figure out how to get started or a veteran feeling overwhelmed and just stuck. I was just like you, and I totally get it. Many times I wish there was someone that I could just talk to about all the challenges I was facing. And that is why I created this space just for you. Like best friends do, I'm giving you all the tea related to navigating and thriving in these real estate streets. If I can do it, guess what? That's proof that you can too. Everything's better with friends, so let's succeed together. Welcome to the Real Estate Bestie podcast. Hello. Hey, real estate besties. Welcome to episode number 102, child. And I am going to talk about having a business retreat by yourself. But before I get into it, listen, besties, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the besties that continue to listen to the podcast. You are sharing it. We are growing, and that is only because of you and your support. And if for whatever reason I know you're busy, you listed it while you driving and your hands aren't free, but if you could just literally take one quick moment, hit pause, and review the podcast wherever you are. We are looking for a 5-star review. And if you could just type a couple of words to share just how this has helped your real estate journey, it will mean the absolute world to us. And what it honestly does is it lets all of the people in the podcasting world and their algorithm know that, you know what, we doing some real work over here. Like we getting down and dirty, and we are helping each other and supporting each other. And then it allows them to put the podcast in front of more people who need it, right? And speaking of which, if you have a real life real estate bestie who has not joined us here, please send them the podcast, do a screenshot, tag me on social. We just want to continue to grow our podcast. And today, particularly, y'all, I am going to share with you an evolution to my goal setting, intention setting deal that I think will be helpful, especially because the experience that I'm coming off of is something newer for me. And the extrovert in me struggled, but she needed it. So especially if you're a little bit more introverted, this is probably really going to be your jam. And even if you're extroverted, you probably need to slow down and do something similar. So I want to pop and tell you all about a me retreat, right? A silent retreat, a me retreat, a business retreat that I did all by myself. And I just want to give you some feedback, some things that went well and some things that I would do differently going forward to the next year. So if you remember back on episode number 90, we talked about goal planning for 2024. And in that episode, check it out if you haven't, I shared with you about a goal setting workshop that I did with my entrepreneur mastermind group that I'm a part of. We actually ended up doing a different version of it with other real estate besties here in Dallas. But that was really the catalyst that helped me to kind of put a why behind my goals and had me do some forward thinking. But if I'm going to be, well, y'all know I'm always going to be honest with you. I had to really kind of tug my own coattail, because what I realized is that a lot of things that I teach, if you've ever done coaching with me, if you've ever done a course with me, one of the first things that we are going to always talk about and tackle is mindset. And I generally challenge people to really get very specific on what you want your dream life to look like, and understanding that the work that we do in our real estate career is going to be usually one of the tools that's going to help us to be able to live that dream life. But y'all, it had been a while since I did that activity myself, because what happened, thank the Lord, is that I found myself living my dream life, which was good. But just moving and fast forward, running businesses, trying to drink your water, go for a walk, be a wife, have a kid, I had not sat down and really dreamed again. And quite honestly, my business goals, what I desire from life, it has evolved since I originally did that. And what might happen to us is that if we don't take the time to get still, or we show up to one of these goal setting sessions that somebody else is putting on, we will write down a whole bunch of stuff, but not really tie it to something that's purposeful for us and actually not achieve it. So what I decided was this year I was going to have some time away, right? Some time away from husband, some time away from our real estate team, even time off of social media, where I just really wanted to sit with the work that I started at the goal setting retreat and actually pray about it, put some action behind it. And that's just what I did. So yeah, it went really well. And I did something, if you follow me on social for a while, or maybe you haven't, me and my husband did something similar last year, but we did it together. And while I am still, like Corey and I, we do a vision retreat for our family or for our marriage once a year, where we take some time away and we just kind of think, plan, and go. And for us, that's actually coming up the weekend after this podcast goes live. We're going to do that. But I just thought that, and it's not even that I thought, I needed some time to decompress on my own, because while I love my husband and I involve him and, he knows everything that I have going on, there are certain things that I'm working on that he's not involved in the day-to-day, right? Real estate Bestie is a great example. He's not involved in the day-to-day of my real estate Bestie, what we're doing here, this business. He's not involved in the day-to-day of even my real estate business, right? The Rosemary Lewis Group. He has a separate real estate team. So it was nice to take some time to really sit with what my goals are, to pray about where I want to go. And honestly, even more importantly, sit with God to say, okay, where are you taking me, without having to explain it to somebody who is not all the way in it. But now that I've had this time on my own and he's had some time on his own, when we come and when we do our actual vision retreat together, we're going to come in with clarity so that we can be in alignment. So anywho, let's talk about like the logistics. Okay. So the logistics are that I literally looked at my calendar and I was like, okay, when can I do this retreat? When can I block time in my schedule to take a couple nights away? And what could that look like? So let me tell y'all what I wanted it to look like and what it actually looked like and what I'm planning for next year. What I wanted it to look like, very much like what my husband and I did last year. Like, we rode up to Oklahoma, to this area called Broken Bow. We were in the cabins. There was nature around us. It was really like being one with nature, one with God. So I wanted that same experience, but here is the trick. I didn't want to drive all the way to Oklahoma by myself. It's not my jam, right? And not only did I not want to drive to Oklahoma by myself, I was really thinking like, and also, do you want to be in a cabin by yourself? Now, I don't know, like, I'm south side of Chicago through and through, but baby, about them lions and tigers and bears, nah, I'm not about that life. So I was like, yeah, I don't, and when I decided that I was going to go, I really had like a short window of time, because I knew that I wanted to get this time on the books for myself before I started doing some goal things with my real estate team, with my, the team that supports Real Estate Bestie. So I had a short window of when I needed to get it done, and getting to that cabin wasn't a go. So then I found this other cabin, which was like an hour away from my house. And listen, my husband was like, sis, you don't need, like, for this one, let just go on up the street to the hotel. You don't need a 4-bedroom, because the only thing I could find was like a 4-bedroom cabin, which in hindsight I probably would have been a little scary, a little nervous to be in it by myself, because again it was like by Lake Texarkana, so wildlife, like I'm not used to the area. So we decided that I would just go to a hotel that was pretty local to us, right? Far enough away but close enough in case something happened. In hindsight, right, when I'm planning for next year, like I'm already thinking about what this is going to look like for me next year. I did enjoy the time away, but it was still a little too familiar for me to completely disconnect. Okay. So, not having the responsibilities of getting my son up, I really wasn't taking real estate calls. The only thing that I did in terms of work were coach the besties that are part of the Real Estate Bestie Academy. If you're listening to this and you're like, what's the academy? Just go to rosemarylewis.com/academy. You can jump on the wait list for that. But that's the only like work thing that I did. But since I was close to things that were familiar to me, I didn't feel as disconnected from my normal everyday as I would have wanted to. So next year, I'm already thinking through, okay, even if I do, but I did like being in a hotel. I ain't gonna lie. I did like being in a hotel. I think I like the cabin situation because I'm extroverted. I like people. So the cabin situation, I like being in a hotel. I'm just leave it at that. So I'm thinking next year I'm just going to fly to like Colorado, or, I'm going to plan it better so that I can go a little further and remove myself completely from what's normal for me, because I do think that would enhance the experience. It still did what it needs to do, but that is one thing that I would change. Okay, so check into a hotel, y'all. And I, on the way to the hotel, I stop, I get my little snacks. And I was laughing at myself trying to figure out what I wanted, thinking about, y'all remember that girl, Carly Lee Russell, who faked her own disappearance? Like, I felt like Carly Lee, like I'm going right up to the hotel, right up the street. Let me go and get my cheeses and my snacks so that I could get started with this experience. So what I did was, when I checked in, I got there on a Monday night. So literally I had about like a little bit less than 48 hours, which was cool. And that's something else that I want to say. I was super excited to go. But when it was time to go, like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna log off of social media. I'm not gonna be talking to my husband. Like, I kind of like made this whole kind of not dramatic, but I told my team like, hey, I'm probably not gonna be accessible, be the point of contact for our clients. Same thing with like my girl Kim. And I was like, ooh, I'm by myself. Like, I was a little bit like, but I needed it, right? Like if you struggle with spending time alone, then you might need to embrace what that looks like. So went, got my snacks, and the first night I was like, okay, I want to sit down, because remember, I had already started the process. Like, I had this goal setting book that we went through and we did all the things with. So I had started the process. I actually was pretty clear, or am pretty clear, on what goals I'm looking at for 2024. I've sat with them for about a month. I've been praying about them. But you know how sometimes you be praying and God give you confirmation, but you low key like, well, send me another sign. Let me know this is what we're really working towards. God was like, girl, you already know. But I spent some time on the first night really reflecting. I reflected on the current year, because it's not up. It wasn't up at the time. And then not only did I reflect on the current year, but I also thought through, and this is something I believe I shared in episode 90. I thought through, what are some things that over the next 6 weeks before we enter into the new year, what are some things that I want to start doing now so that I can be proud of my forward motion from now into the end of the year. And that's why I love having the goal setting conversation October, November, especially when you're going to have that conversation with yourself from the mindset of, I'm not going to just coast into the year changes, but how do I full sprint ahead, whatever that looks like, be very clear on how I want to finish where I currently am. Let me evaluate where I've come from. How do I want to finish where I currently am? And then what's the plan for next year? So I spent some time, y'all, thinking that through. And then I came up with a theme for 2024. And I'm going to share it with you. For some people it's their word, but for me it's the theme. Like, what am I looking for? And for me, that theme is leap, right? To leap. I'm looking to leap. I'm looking to make a great effort to go to a new height. And then I had to define my why. Okay. Why did I want to do that? So I love that activity because before I could just arbitrarily write down any goals, even though, remember, I did the why work before. I made myself revisit. I got really big Post-it notes. I plastered them on a wall, and I gave myself permission to write and to think. I ended that night by giving myself the assignment that I have given many of you, and that is to really write down your dream life. Okay. So what is it like if I wake up 10 years from today, I started writing a narrative from start to finish, what I want my life to look like, from where I'm at to, what shoes I'm putting on, to who's cooking breakfast, to what my kids are doing, to, like what me and my husband look like, to what we're driving, to what activity we're headed to. I started that process, and real talk, that was uncomfortable. It was. It was uncomfortable because, quite honestly, God has blessed me so richly already. And when I say richly, I'm not even talking about stuff. But he has allowed me to do things that are outside of what I thought I would ever be able to do. And it just felt weird to dream that dream, right? And this is why part of what my conversation and my time is to really have open and honest dialogue. Like, I'm sitting there talking to God, like he's sitting next to me, like, okay, so here's the thing. Okay, I put down that I want to be Antigua speaking. But and really what I just kept going back to is, it's a why thing, right? And I am at a point in my life where, sure, there's more money to be made, there are more experiences to be had, but quite honestly, I love the life that I'm living now, so I can be reaching for purpose that is outside of materials or a number in my bank account. And my why is really, how do I become the best version of myself to draw others to Christ. I mean, oops, if you don't know, that's what Real Estate Bestie is about. Like, I just want to help unlock a peace in you where you trust Jesus with all the things, your business, your family, your life, your everything. So spend some time doing that. And I really I got to a point in writing that narrative that I was like, I got to go to sleep, child. My head hurt. So the next day was first day was about the why. And then the next day was about the what. Okay, so this is why I won. Now, what are we going to do? Like, what are the pillars of the business? Like, how am I, what needs to happen in terms of me showing up for my real estate team? Like, what does it look like for me showing up for the Real Estate Bestie community? What does it look like for me showing up as wife and friend and mom and, all of these other things that I am? So spending some time going through the what, and y'all, this was a very powerful activity for me. And it goes back to this book that I recommend to you. It's called Who Not How. And this activity, I literally took a huge Post-it note and I stuck it to the wall. And on one side, I put a smiley face. And one side, I didn't put a mad face, but I put like that line, like that kind of non-expression face. And I wrote down all the things that I do, right, in my business, in my personal life. And, on one side, the smiley face were like, what are the things that I really, truly enjoy? Like, I feel like I'm in a flow state. They're in my zone of genius. Like, I am happy to do it. And then what are the things on the other side that are not the things that need to get done, but they aren't the best use of my time, the best use of my gifting? And that right there informed the who's that I need to put in place, right? So for me, I am all things like I love showing up. I love podcasting. I love speaking. I love coaching. But now the minutia of some of the other, am I even using that right? I might have just made that up. Forgive me if I'm making up words on the podcast. Go with me. I'm your friend, besties. We be making up words. But, I had to really think through the things that I am not as gifted in, administrative tasks and things like that, and really start to think through, okay, how much freer would I be? Like, what would my life and my business look like if I had who's to take over all of these things that I still dip my toe in. So that was important, right? That was important for me to do. So did that. Then I went outside and I went for a walk on a trail because I had to find some nature, and that was good. I did an extended walk. I listened to a book called 10x is better than or is greater than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin, I forget his name, but I will link it in the show notes so that you can get it. And then after that, I came back, and it was literally some things that came up in the book. I really wrote down, like, what do I want? You know, like, okay, Rosemary, like, if you didn't have to make any apologies, if you didn't have to justify what you want, write those things down, right? And then I spent some time like looking over my life and because remember, my theme is leap. Where are the places in life where I have made the leaps? Because I needed to show evidence to myself that, you know what, God has already given evidence that you can do hard things, that you can take these massive leaps and change your life. So don't be scared to do them now. So y'all, it got deep. Then after that, it was time for me to pray. And I was praying and talking to God the whole time. But this was really, this is where it was interesting, because I think that I had such an emotional 2022. Like I was just, I was grieving my mom. I was feeling like, not like myself. So every interaction was just overwhelming. So I expected, like this big, moment. But God was like, girl, I've been told you what to do. Like we don't have to have all the theatrics in this hotel room on this day. I just need you to go after what I am calling you to. But here's the thing, y'all. I needed this time, and you probably need this time too, to step away and have clarity in your actions, right? Because oftentimes like I said, we will be running towards something, and we get there only to realize like, oh, I never even checked to see if this is the mark that I should have been running towards. I give the example, when I got my undergraduate degree in early childhood education. And immediately my parents were like, are you going to go get your master's degree? Are you going to get your master's degree? And all my cousins, I have several, I'm from one of those families that I probably have 50 first cousins. We count them once. It's a whole lot of us. And of my cousins, all of us, a lot of the girls, I would say there are probably 13 girls. We were all born within a 3 to 4 year span of each other. And 8 of us ended up being educators, and everybody was getting their master's. So it was just kind of okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get my master's, right? So I go and I get my master's. I'm telling y'all, took classes where I was going to school after my teaching job. I was driving an hour there, an hour and a half back with traffic. Did that for 2 years. I had my little boy. I was newly married, but I wanted that master's degree. Y'all, only to get a week before graduation, it dawned on me hey, I wonder how much more money am I gonna get paid? Once I get this degree, how much more money am I gonna get paid? Y'all, it was $50 a check, right? Definitely not enough. If I would have had student loans, gratefully my parents paid for it. But if I would have had student loans, it would not have been enough. And then I checked, and my district was phasing out the position that I got the master's for. But you know what? All I saw was master's degree. All I saw was I'm going to get a master's, right? Because this is what they say I'm supposed to be doing. I never did a post check to see if this was the best use of my time and if I was in alignment with what I should be going towards. And oftentimes I see that in our careers, right? You have an arbitrary, number. I want to close 50 transactions, but you've never sat down and you've done the math. Number one, to figure out how much money is that. Number two, do you need that much or do you need more? And then number three, is that really what you're supposed to be going after, right? So this time away gave me, number one, permission to put my dreams on paper, but also, honestly, I'm a backwards planet, because it gave me permission to first sit with God and have him reveal and show me some stuff, then dare to write down the things that he showed me and still submit those things back to him. And oftentimes, we're so busy with the everyday responsibilities of life that you look up and year after year after year, especially in this business, the only thing that we know to do is to chase another production number only to get there. And now you sitting the way I was sitting with that master's degree. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this now? Because I never sat down and I never got clarity on what it is that I was working towards. So that's what my full day was. It was, it was sitting down, getting clarity, praying, dreaming on paper, writing down, when have I taken leaps? When have I done something different in the past? And how has it benefited me? And also, even if it didn't benefit, what lessons did I learn? And then, y'all, now finally, on the last day, it was time for me to look at those goals again. And remember, I came into it knowing what my goals were. I kind of wanted to test. I think this was part of me testing my goals, testing the integrity of them. And I definitely left with the same goals. And I think in part because my why was clarified, but also the what changed. Because as I looked at some goals that I had, and when I really realized like what I love to do, I'll give you a great example. What I figured out is I love group coaching. I love opportunities to coach small groups of agents, small groups of people, just to help them unlock their potential. But right now, I'm only doing that like once or twice a year when I have a course. So it was like, wait, if this is something that you love and you get great feedback from the people that are a part of it, then why, I put that down like, okay, now I got to figure out like, how do I incorporate this in how I'm showing up, because this is something that I love. This is something, and it's not just about money. It's about helping other people grow. Like, I did not go into this weekend or this time thinking that was something that I would walk away with. So I came back on the last day, looked at my goals, and it was like, okay, what's my first action step? I have 8 goals that I'm working towards for 2024 that fit into that bigger picture, that bigger vision that I wrote out, but 8 goals that I have for 2024. I challenged myself on the last day to write down a couple things. What habits, like what are some habits that I need to have in place that are going to get me there? And literally it's very baseline, like the number one habit that I am working on getting back to and mastering before the end of this year is to honor my night and my morning routine. Like, so much of our success is contingent on how we book in our day. And then after writing the habits, I was like, okay, what's my very next best step to get to these goals, right? And that is a game changer, because I came out of this not with an arbitrary list, but like literally, okay, if I have a goal around something with me and my husband, I had an action step. Okay, what conversation do I need to have? I have a goal around growing this pillar of my business. So I have an action step about something that I specifically want to coach on with my coach. I had a goal around, speaking and being on more stages next year. So my action step was to reach out to this person to grow that part. So this is the game changer, because a lot of times, let me tell you what happens. We write down these goals. We got these great ideas. We put them in our backpack. We on fire after the session, and then we forget about them. We forget why we wanted them. We have not said what we're going to do to get them. We don't have any habits behind them. And then we wonder why they aren't achieved, while we're pulling out that book next year. And either you didn't achieve your goals, or you got that arbitrary number or that arbitrary thing, but it added no value to your life. So taking some time away was helpful, right? It was helpful because it gave me some time to wrestle with what my intentions are, have some honest conversations with God, and it just gave me some time to actually shut my mouth and be quiet. Quiet my brain, no social media, no handling phone calls, to just literally quiet myself and be in that moment. So I'm going to tell you that the retreat was a win. As soon as I got off the retreat, started making plans, like working towards my next action steps. And it's been helpful. So I just wanted to encourage you, because if you have been to any of these goal setting things or you haven't, maybe it's an opportunity for you to figure out how to set some goals with yourself. But then after you set the goals, like really sit down, get quiet so that you can get intentional, so that, again, if I wouldn't have gotten quiet, I would not have unpacked, okay, what do I love to do and what don't I love that much? Okay, so why am I even putting what I don't love on the list? Like, let me figure out how to do more of what I love to do, because then I'm going to be more impactful for the people that I serve. So yeah, listen, if you have thought about doing something similar, if you're going to go out to the woods where I was scared to go, or if you are just going to, go somewhere locally, book a hotel room, this is your sign to do it, to pour into yourself, to give yourself this space and this opportunity. And I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you, bestie. I want to definitely see how this works. And if you actually roll out and do a go retreat or a me retreat, silent retreat, whatever you want to call it, just something by yourself, tag me, like snap a picture, tag me on social media, send it to me in my DMs or tag me in your stories. I would love to see it. I'm Rosemary the Realtor on Instagram. And of course, if any part of this episode has resonated with you, and quite honestly, I'm talking real estate, but anybody can do this type of retreat that I did, please share it with them. Y'all know we got a lot of people who are not just real estate agents listening to Real Estate Bestie, because a lot of what we share here is universal, and it is helping our besties in business everywhere. So I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, besties. If you enjoyed this episode and you have a real life bestie that you think it would resonate with, y'all, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button, because you know what? We are better together. Make sure you share the podcast, and I appreciate your reviews. I appreciate you giving me 5 stars more than you know. I'll talk to you next week.